So the first thing I want to talk about is the base, because when you're working on building a prop, the first thing you need to think about is the skeleton, the structure that's going to make up your prop. So in this case, what I did is I focused on what do I need in terms of PVC pipe and EVA/craft foam in order to build out the shape that I want. So what I did is I went to Home Depot and I got myself a PVC pipe. My husband helped me saw it down on one end till it was approximately the right size. So there's a PVC pipe actually running from around here on the staff until right around where the topper begins. Once I had gotten the PVC pipe kind of cut to the right length, I focused on using EVA foam. EVA foam you can find, I usually go to Lowe's to get mine. I get it in the form of those big giant puzzle pieces that usually you see on the floors of kindergarten rooms and things like that. And it's fairly cheap and it's really good for building out a lot of bulk. So in this case, I started building out the heart shape for the topper, and I basically cut 2 layers because I was going to sandwich them together with the rough sides of the puzzle pieces on the EVA foam together. I also used EVA foam to cut out the little diamond shape, and once again I'm kind of using 2 pieces, going to sandwich them together. And that's how I built out the main bulk pieces. I trimmed them down, beveled them at certain angles so that it would look less like a flat 2-dimensional design. So all of that was done with X-Acto knife, and then I've got a Dremel where I sanded down the edges to try and make it as smooth as possible. So that got me the heart, the diamond piece. In the diamond piece I also drilled out a little hole so I could slide in the PVC topper. The next thing I needed to work with, and we're still working on building it out of craft foam here, is there was a lot of kind of sloping, curved shapes where it would kind of fill out with a rounded curve, or it would kind of be thicker and then slim down in the middle of the staff. So what I did is I went to town with craft foam. Basically anywhere I needed some sort of a shape where it was a curve, I would just build out a couple layers of craft foam, cutting each one just a little bit shorter. Think about it in terms of like how they render video games where it's kind of pixelated into digital, where in order to create a curve it's actually a series of little rectangles that kind of get smaller and smaller. So I did that in a couple different places. So the first one is at the very end of the staff. Because I'm not really good at sculpting, I think we covered this in my resin star tutorial, I'm really bad at sculpting. So what I did here is I just created a number of concentric circles until I had basically the rough outline, and then what I did is I used a Dremel to sort of smooth it out, and then I actually used some wood filler in order to make it as smooth as it possibly could be. So I did that for the bottom piece, and then I also did that for the end of the top of the piece where the topper connects to the staff. Once again, just using craft foam. If I need it to be slightly bulkier, adding more layers. In most cases, I was using somewhere between 1 and 4 layers of craft foam in order to create the layer of sloping that I needed for that particular shape. As you can see in the drawing, I've kind of marked out kind of how many layers, and I'll have another, I guess, probably another 1-pager that'll cover exactly how many circles there were. But that was how I got some of the basic shapes. The last piece that I had some difficulty with was, so on the staff itself, it had a really kind of nicely rounded edge that sloped in and then got really thin towards the middle and then got thicker out again. So I started doing my craft foam technique, again, kind of layering where, the first layer went all the way down and then getting shorter and shorter to try and build out that bulk. But I still wasn't getting the smooth kind of gradation that I was looking for. So I kind of went off the books here, and then I grabbed some bandaging. Because one of my other cosplays I basically have a whole lot of nude colored under bandaging to protect my husband, who does Jin, from Yu Yu Hakusho, where he's got lots of bandages. There's under bandages, which is really thin and gauzy, and it's really stretchy. So I took some of that extra bandage, and I just started wrapping it. I wrapped it around the top, and I wrapped it around the bottom of the staff. kind of working it thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner until I got to the middle. And that got me, it's not perfect, like if you look at the staff really closely you can kind of see that there's kind of bumps along the way, but from a distance and for most pictures you're not really going to see that. So that's how basically I handled that kind of thick to thin, thin to thick again on the staff. There was one slight problem where basically where the bandages ended, even after I put Warbler on it, it still looked a little weird, but I'm going to cover that in the next step for how I kind of hid that little mistake.